I proposed at Disneyland. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're not the guy I wanted." I posted the video on Reddit's Trashy Confessions that night. I had spent almost 8 months planning the perfect proposal. I wanted it to be the kind of moment people remembered, not just because of where it happened, but because of what it meant. Disneyland had always been Tessa's dream spot. She called it the happiest place on earth. And whenever life got heavy, she'd talk about how one day we'd go together. I took that as a promise, not a hint. I worked longer shifts, cut down on everything I enjoyed, and saved for the trip. When I finally booked the tickets, I thought I was giving her the one thing she'd never forget. Turns out, I was right, just not the way I imagined. We'd been together 5 years. We met during college orientation, sitting side by side in a lecture neither of us cared about. She was sarcastic and sharp, but she had this warmth that made you feel chosen when she laughed at your jokes. I was never the most confident guy, but she made me feel like I was enough. Over time, I started building everything around her: career, home, future. The months before Disneyland, though, things began to shift. It started small. She'd go out with friends, but forget to mention who. Her phone was always face down. When I'd ask if she was okay, she'd say she just needed space. She claimed she was stressed from work, and I wanted to believe her. She was a marketing assistant for a small PR firm, always juggling deadlines and clients. I figured the distance came from exhaustion, not disinterest. Before the trip, she spent a lot of time on her phone, saying she was talking to a friend who worked at Disney about making it special. I thought she meant helping me set up a surprise. I didn't know she was the one setting it up, just not for me. The morning of the trip, she looked perfect. Sundress, sunglasses, and that casual confidence she had when she knew everyone was watching. I felt lucky. Nervous, but lucky. The ring was tucked in a small pocket of my backpack, wrapped in tissue like some sacred relic. When we reached the park gates, she was already recording on her phone. "It's for my travel vlog," she said. That wasn't new. She'd been growing her little YouTube channel for a while, mostly posting lifestyle clips, nothing serious. I didn't mind being in her videos, though I always found it awkward. She told me this trip might boost engagement, and I thought maybe that meant something positive for both of us. All day, I waited for the right moment. I planned to propose at sunset in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. I told a park photographer ahead of time, and he promised to capture everything. Tessa seemed restless, checking her phone every few minutes, whispering into her mic while filming short clips. Once, I heard her say, "He has no idea." She laughed after. I thought she meant a surprise. Maybe she'd planned something for me. When the time came, I led her toward the castle. The crowd was thick but cheerful, families taking photos, children waving plastic wands. My palms were sweating so badly, I almost dropped the ring box. The sun was sliding low, making everything gold. I remember thinking it was perfect. I got down on one knee. The sound of the crowd dimmed, and all I saw was her face, or rather, what it became. Not surprise, not happiness, just this mix of shock and irritation, like I'd ruined her day. She stared at me for a long second. Then she rolled her eyes, let out this tired sigh, and said, loud enough for people nearby to hear, "You're not the guy I wanted." A few people gasped. Someone laughed nervously. I froze. She wasn't joking. The silence that followed felt longer than time itself. My hand was still holding the ring box open, and she just turned away, muttering something about me, making it awkward. Then she walked off. The photographer lowered his camera. A little boy nearby whispered to his dad, "That lady was mean." I stayed kneeling, not because I wanted to, but because my legs wouldn't move. When I finally stood up, I heard people whispering. One girl said she'd caught it on camera and was already uploading it to TikTok. My proposal had turned into a sideshow. I left the ring box in my pocket and wandered off in a daze, ignoring calls from my mom and friends who'd been expecting a happy announcement. Back at the hotel that night, Tessa wasn't there. Her suitcase was gone. Her half of the room was stripped bare, except for her toiletries and a note on the counter. It said, "You embarrassed me. Don't contact me again." That was it. No explanation, no apology. The next morning, I woke up to my phone vibrating nonstop. Texts, mentions, notifications. My face, red, humiliated, stunned, was everywhere. The video had gone viral overnight under the title "Disney Disaster: The Proposal from Hell." It had hundreds of thousands of views already. The clip wasn't just what I remembered. Someone had added commentary, slow-motion reactions, and a caption bubble when she said the line. The camera had caught her smirk. People in the comments made jokes, comparing me to the nice guy who didn't get the memo. My name was blurred, but friends recognized me immediately. My inbox flooded with links. Tessa hadn't posted anything directly, but that same morning, she uploaded a photo to her Instagram. A selfie in front of the castle, holding a chuo, captioned, "Sometimes life gives you the wrong fairy tale." Thousands of likes. comments full of sympathy and gossip. That's when the first real crack of anger hit. Until then, I'd been too numb to process it. But something about that caption, the casual way she turned my humiliation into content, made me see her differently. The woman I loved had become someone unrecognizable. By that evening, I started getting tagged in reaction videos. People debating whether I was in on it. Others dissecting her body language, calling her cruel. It was surreal. Then one video caught my attention. A Disneyland vlogger had posted footage from another angle, showing a person off to the side filming her reaction from a distance. The clip zoomed in just before I proposed. The man recording was laughing quietly. At first, I assumed he was just another tourist. But as I watched it again, I noticed something odd. Tessa looked at that man before I got on one knee. She nodded slightly, as if signaling. It wasn't random. Someone she knew had been there, waiting for that moment. That realization didn't make me sad. It made me cold. I closed my laptop, sat in the dark hotel room, and tried to remember the last time she'd looked at me the way she used to. I couldn't. Everything about the last few months, the secrecy, the phone calls, the distracted smiles, began connecting in my head. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying the video, the smirk, the words, the crowd. I didn't know yet what to do, but I knew one thing for certain. The next time her name went viral, it wouldn't be on her terms. When I flew home the next morning, the video had already crossed 2 million views. People were stitching it, laughing, adding reaction commentary. Every scroll on social media felt like watching a replay of the same nightmare. My coworkers had seen it. My mother called crying. And through it all, Tessa stayed silent. No texts, no calls, nothing. For the first few days, I kept hoping she'd show up with some kind of explanation. That maybe she panicked. That maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But reality hit harder with every hour that passed. She had deleted me from her socials. The woman I thought I'd spend my life with had vanished while the world laughed at me. Then came the Reddit message. The username was something like Magic Kingdom Insider. It was short, blunt, and completely unexpected. The message said they'd seen the viral clip, recognized Tessa, and thought I deserved to know what really happened. They claimed to have overheard her at the park, bragging to someone over the phone before the proposal, saying, "He's actually going to do it. Can you believe he still thinks I love him?" I wanted to believe it was fake. The internet breeds liars. But attached were 2 photos taken near the castle earlier that day. One of her holding her phone with that smug grin, another showing a tall guy leaning against a fence, filming from afar. The same one I'd noticed in that vlogger's footage. The stranger said the man's name was Brandon, a regular at the park who worked nearby. My stomach dropped. I knew that name. Tessa's ex-boyfriend from college. The guy she said meant nothing anymore. I hadn't thought about him in years. But now he was right there, standing behind her, camera raised, recording my humiliation like it was a comedy sketch. I scrolled down. The stranger attached a screenshot of Tessa's Instagram story from a private backup account I hadn't known existed. In the caption, she'd written, "This is going to break the internet." The timestamp matched the exact time of my proposal. That was when I realized it hadn't been spontaneous. It was planned. The next evening, more proof surfaced. People online began digging into her social media, finding connections she'd tried to hide. On TikTok, someone slowed down the original video frame by frame, revealing that a lavalier mic was clipped under her collar. She'd been wired for sound. A few commenters joked she might have been filming a prank, but then someone noticed a watermark that didn't belong to any influencer. It was from Brandon's company account. He ran a small marketing channel where they filmed social experiments. The pieces snapped together. The mysterious Disney contact, the perfectly timed camera angles, her sudden interest in recording everything that day. It wasn't a coincidence. It was content. I'd been the content. The video had been monetized too. Someone uploaded the full footage, with commentary and ad breaks, to a new YouTube channel that used her email as recovery contact. The monetization had already been approved. The date of approval was 3 days before the trip. That was when rage replaced shame. Every smile she gave me that day was an act. Every second of my heartbreak was budgeted for engagement. I didn't reply to the Reddit user immediately. Instead, I spent the next 48 hours digging. The more I found, the less I recognized the person I'd loved. There were screenshots from a private group chat she'd run with other content creators. They joked about auditioning for sympathy. One message from Tessa said, "If this blows up, I'll finally have leverage when Brandon leaves her." That line froze me. When Brandon leaves her. It meant he wasn't single. He had a fiancée. A quick search confirmed it. He was engaged to a woman named Alyssa, and their wedding website was still public. Photos of him and Tessa were months old. Same background, same smile. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd been using me to make him jealous while pretending to move on. The humiliation twisted into something sharper. Not sadness, but a need to flip the script. She wanted attention. Fine. I'd give her more than she could handle. I started by creating a burner Reddit account under the name Castle Crash 2025. I downloaded everything. The viral video, her story posts, even the metadata from her monetized upload. Then I wrote a short post on our /off my chest titled, "She turned my proposal into a public stunt." I didn't name her, just described the situation and attached a still frame from the video. It hit the front page within hours. Commenters flooded in, dissecting every second of her reaction, calling it cruel, narcissistic, staged. Some people even started investigating her online, piecing together her identity from background details. By morning, someone linked her business page. The comments there turned brutal. Brands began quietly removing her from their influencer collaborations. She posted a vague note on her story. People love twisting narratives. It only made things worse. Then I got another message from the same Reddit user. They said Brandon had panicked. Apparently, Alyssa, his fiancée, saw the viral video and recognized his voice laughing in the background. The engagement ring photo she'd posted a week earlier vanished. Her page went private. I hadn't done anything directly to him, but collateral damage was already in motion. 3 days later, Tessa finally texted me. The message said, "You had no right to post about us. Take it down." I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, she sent another. "You don't understand what you've started." She was right. I didn't, but I was about to. The post had taken on a life of its own. Internet sleuths found the YouTube monetization evidence and cross-referenced the email domain. It led straight to her professional website. Within 24 hours, her employer, a boutique PR firm, issued a statement saying they were reviewing conduct related to social media ethics. The irony was unbearable. She'd built her career on managing reputations. Now hers was burning down faster than I could process. Meanwhile, Brandon's company was being flooded with bad press too. His business account, which once bragged about viral authenticity, went dark. I watched all of it unfold from my apartment, silent, not celebrating, not gloating, just observing. For once, the chaos wasn't aimed at me. Late that night, I logged back into Reddit. My post had been archived, but dozens of reposts were still climbing in views. One particular thread caught my eye. Someone had uploaded side-by-side clips of her castle reaction and a leaked recording from a podcast she'd done months earlier, bragging about manipulating algorithms by baiting emotional men. Her voice was identical. That was the final nail. The internet didn't need me anymore. It had already turned her into a case study. I leaned back in my chair and watched the numbers rise, the threads multiply, the hashtags trend. I realized she'd built her empire on people watching her, craving attention. Now she had it, just not the kind she wanted. Somewhere deep down, I knew this wasn't over. She'd try to fight back, but I wasn't afraid. For the first time in years, she didn't control the story. I did, and the world was finally listening. The day Tessa's employer suspended her, I realized just how fast digital justice could move. It wasn't the result of some master plan. I hadn't hacked anything or bribed anyone. I'd simply let her own words breathe in public. The rest took care of itself. Still, a part of me wanted something more complete, not out of spite, but out of balance. I'd spent months building a moment meant to symbolize trust and love. She'd turned it into a humiliation reel for profit. If she wanted to monetize emotions, I'd show her what real engagement looked like. I opened my editing software, the same one I'd used to cut small highlight videos for friends. I imported everything: her staged proposal footage, the viral TikToks, the screenshots, and her group chat messages. Then I arranged them into a 12-minute short documentary titled, "She Used Me for Content." The video didn't attack her directly. It simply told the story chronologically: proposal, betrayal, monetization, exposure. Every piece of evidence was there, time-stamped and unaltered. When I posted it on Reddit's r/trashy confessions, I didn't expect what came next. Within 2 hours, it hit the top of the feed. Within 12, it was everywhere. News outlets picked it up. Reaction channels uploaded breakdowns. People in the comments called it the most perfectly executed self-own in influencer history. By morning, her full name was trending. Someone traced her LinkedIn profile, which led to her PR firm's website. They'd already removed her photo from the team page. Her sponsors followed, one by one, deleting collaboration posts and issuing apologies for inappropriate behavior by a partner. But the internet never stops at justice. It keeps digging. Viewers uncovered that her Disney proposal video had been filmed without a proper media permit. Disneyland's legal department took notice because she'd monetized the footage on YouTube. That single technical violation turned into a corporate nightmare. The park's PR division reached out to me through email, politely requesting a statement. I sent them copies of everything: her emails arranging the recording, the proof that she'd planned to profit off the footage. A week later, Disneyland banned her indefinitely from all properties for unauthorized commercial filming. That detail leaked online through an internal employee forum, and the comments were merciless. Some joked she'd have to propose to herself in a parking lot next time. Her downfall triggered collateral damage. Brandon's fiancée, Alyssa, resurfaced briefly to post a calm but devastating message on her social media. To those sending me the video, I've seen it. I wish them both luck rebuilding what they destroyed. That single line went viral too. Brandon's company lost clients after screenshots showed he'd laughed in the background during the Disneyland fiasco. Meanwhile, my inbox filled with offers, podcasts, interviews, sponsorships, even one brand offering to pay me to wear their shirt in a response video. I ignored them all. I didn't want fame. I wanted quiet recognition that I'd even the score. But quiet wasn't an option anymore. A week after the r/trashy confessions post, someone messaged me claiming to be from a small news network. They said Tessa had agreed to an exclusive interview to tell her side. The teaser dropped that evening. She sat in a pastel-colored studio, pretending to cry, saying I'd weaponized the internet against her and edited footage out of context. She insisted it had been a social experiment about authenticity in relationships. But people didn't buy it. They recognized the same tone she used in her old videos, the fake empathy, the soft-spoken rehearsed vulnerability. The dislikes on the interview outnumbered the likes within hours. Memes exploded. One of the top comments read, "Imagine gaslighting the entire internet after gaslighting your boyfriend." That night, a new video appeared, an unedited clip from her own camera crew, leaked anonymously. It showed her laughing right after I'd walked away from the proposal, turning to Brandon's lens and saying, "That should get us at least 1 million views." The timestamp matched perfectly. That was the third and biggest twist. She hadn't just hurt me emotionally. She'd recorded proof of her own cruelty. And now it was public. Every major gossip outlet covered it. YouTube creators made hour-long breakdowns with titles like "The Disney Proposal That Ended an Influencer's Career." Even traditional news networks touched on it, calling it a cautionary tale about the dangers of viral fame. My face was everywhere again, but this time, it wasn't ridicule. The narrative had shifted. I wasn't the fool. I was the example. The man who'd survived a public humiliation and turned it into accountability. Meanwhile, Tessa disappeared from social media for a week, then came back with an apology video. She filmed herself in a dimly lit room, reading from a script about mental health and harassment. She said she was deeply sorry to anyone who felt hurt, but never once mentioned me by name. The apology felt like another PR stunt, and the audience saw through it instantly. Comment sections turned brutal. Her subscriber count nosedived overnight. I didn't celebrate. Watching someone unravel publicly isn't satisfying. It's eerie. You start realizing how much destruction lives online, waiting for blood. Yet I couldn't deny the poetic justice. She tried to manipulate an audience for views, and now that audience had become her judge. Still, I wasn't completely untouched by the chaos. Strangers sent me letters, some thanking me for exposing manipulation, others warning me that internet fame never ends cleanly. A few brands even tried to recruit me for ethical marketing campaigns. I didn't respond to any of them. One morning, I received a physical envelope with no return address. Inside was a printed screenshot from her apology video, circled in red ink with the words, "She'll blame you forever." No signature. No clue who sent it. Probably a troll, but it rattled me. For a brief second, I wondered if I'd gone too far. Then came the official confirmation from Disneyland. They emailed me a formal letter thanking me for my cooperation and confirming that Tessa had been permanently banned for unauthorized commercial activity. They asked permission to use my story anonymously in a staff ethics training module. I agreed, as long as my name stayed out of it. That same day, a small indie podcast invited me on for a live interview. I said yes, partly out of curiosity. When the host asked why I'd posted the video in the first place, I told him the truth, that it wasn't revenge. It was proof. Proof that people like her couldn't twist reality forever. By the time the episode aired, I had already deleted my Reddit throwaway. The post still existed, archived under thousands of comments, but I was done feeding it. Then, late one night, as I scrolled through the last wave of comments, I saw a thread that made me pause. Someone had uploaded screenshots from a casting call for a new reality series, Influencer Redemption. Among the listed applicants was Tessa's name. She'd actually applied. The internet roasted the announcement so badly that the producers pulled it down within 24 hours. It should have been funny. Instead, it just felt sad. Somewhere out there, she was still chasing validation, still trying to control a story she no longer owned. And all I could think was how easily it could have been me, trapped in the same cycle, chasing approval, mistaking attention for love. For the first time since that disastrous day, I shut off every screen in my apartment and sat in silence. The noise faded, the anger dulled, and I realized something simple. She had destroyed her own world. All I did was hold up a mirror. 2 months after Disneyland, the world finally quieted down, at least on the surface. But the storm had left permanent scars. Tessa's apology video had been buried under reaction clips, duets, and parodies. The phrase, "You're not the guy I wanted," had become a meme template. People used it for jokes about jobs, sports teams, even pizza orders. Her voice, once confident and rehearsed, had become internet shorthand for regret. Every algorithm that once boosted her now shadow-banned her for low engagement and toxicity reports. I'd stopped checking comments weeks ago. At first, I followed the fallout obsessively. I watched sponsors withdraw, read every article dissecting the scandal, and even saved the news screenshots like trophies. But obsession turned sour fast. Every headline felt emptier than the last. What began as justice had morphed into noise, and the noise had started echoing inside me. Then came the letter. It arrived through my lawyer, sent from hers. A formal cease and desist, demanding I remove all remaining content contributing to harassment and reputational harm. I laughed at the irony. She'd built her career on exploiting public attention, and now she wanted privacy. My lawyer replied with a single-page response. Our client did not originate nor profit from the shared material. The content in question was self-published by Ms. Whitmore. That ended it. Still, the fact that she tried to fight back made me realize something. She wasn't done spiraling. She couldn't be. People like her needed control more than peace. Around the same time, I got another email, this one from a documentary production company. They were working on a project about the blurred line between love, content, and humiliation, and they wanted to feature me. I almost declined. But their message was thoughtful, not exploitative. They weren't after gossip. They wanted perspective. When we filmed, I told the truth. No bitterness, no mockery. I explained how it started with good intentions, how I ignored every red flag because I thought love was supposed to hurt a little, how easy it is to mistake manipulation for passion when you've never known the difference. The producer said they'd never had someone speak so calmly about being destroyed publicly. The documentary aired 6 weeks later. It didn't go viral like the scandal, but it found its audience. People wrote to thank me for being honest. A few said they'd been through similar humiliations, partners who recorded private fights for clout, who posted emotional breakdowns for sympathy clicks. The internet had built a generation of spectators pretending to love, and I'd been one of its victims. That quiet recognition meant more than the millions of views ever did. Meanwhile, Tessa had gone silent again. Her last appearance online was a screenshot of a job rejection email. She captioned it, "People won't hire me because they think I'm unstable." Maybe they're right. It was deleted within hours, but screenshots spread anyway. I didn't feel pity, just finality. She'd wanted a viral life. She got one. She just forgot that the internet never lets you decide when the show ends. Brandon wasn't any luckier. His company dissolved after a string of clients withdrew. Word spread that he'd been blacklisted by several agencies. Alyssa moved to another state, got engaged to someone new. Life had quietly punished him without my involvement. As for me, I kept working my regular job, but things weren't the same. People treated me differently. Not badly, just carefully. Like I was the guy who'd seen too much. My coworkers avoided jokes about relationships. My friends stopped asking if I was dating again. I didn't mind. The peace was better than their curiosity. Months later, something unexpected happened. I got a check in the mail, royalties from the documentary. It wasn't much, but it was enough to spark an idea. I'd always liked editing, and after everything that had happened, I understood online storytelling better than most. So I started a small media consultancy, helping people manage digital crises, teaching them how to protect their images online. It grew fast. Apparently, there's always a market for regret. Ironically, the skills I learned cleaning up her disaster became the foundation of my new career. When the same entertainment network that once covered my humiliation invited me back for a commentary segment on influencer accountability, I accepted. This time, I wasn't a subject, I was an analyst. I never mentioned her name. I didn't need to. Months turned into a year. The internet found new scandals, new villains. My story became an anecdote buried beneath fresher chaos. But every now and then, someone would bring it up. A coworker showing me a meme version of the proposal clip, not realizing it was me. I'd just smile and let it go. Closure isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with applause. It's the silence that stays after everything burns out. I visited Disneyland again exactly 1 year later. I wasn't sure why. Maybe to prove to myself that it no longer hurt. The place looked the same. Families laughing, children waving balloons, couples posing for photos near the castle. I walked past the same spot where I'd knelt, now repaved with brighter tiles. A young man was proposing to his girlfriend right there. The crowd cheered. She cried, nodded, and pulled him into a hug. The photographer captured it perfectly. For a moment, I stood among them, blending in with the strangers, just another face smiling for someone else's fairy tale. When they cleared the area, I stayed behind. I didn't film. I didn't even take a photo. I just stood there, breathing in the mix of laughter, music, and distant fireworks. It didn't sting anymore. Later, sitting at a small cafe outside the park, I checked my phone. My inbox had another message, this time from a university professor asking if I'd guest lecture about narrative control in digital culture. The irony made me laugh. The guy who lost control of his own story was now teaching others how to keep theirs. That night, I walked along the hotel balcony and watched the fireworks light up the sky. The same colors that had framed my heartbreak now looked different. Not mocking, just bright, indifferent, beautiful anyway. Maybe that's what healing really is, realizing the world keeps its rhythm whether you're broken or not. Before going to bed, I scrolled once more through the old Reddit thread, still archived, still full of strangers debating whether I was justified. The top comment said, "He didn't ruin her life. He just let her write the ending herself." That felt true. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and thought about everything that had happened. The proposal, the betrayal, the revenge, the silence. Somewhere in that chaos, I'd learned something no viral video could teach, that losing someone's love isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Losing your self-respect is. And I had gotten mine back, not through revenge, but through understanding that sometimes justice doesn't need a stage. It just needs time. When I checked out the next morning, the hotel clerk handed me a souvenir keychain shaped like a small glass slipper. He said it came with the room package. I almost left it behind, then decided to keep it. Not as a reminder of her, but as proof that fairy tales can still exist, just not always the way you expect. I slipped it into my pocket, stepped into the California sunlight, and walked away without looking back.